Yo, so today I want to talk to y'all about how to get bouncy drums or bouncier drums in Machine for both trap style and boom bap style. First, we're gonna start off with this trap style beat I was working on recently. This is what it sounds like. Take a listen. So we got a bunch of different things going on here. We got the kick, snare, hi-hats, obviously the 808, of course, different types of percussion. So two key things here is you want to nudge the hi-hats ever so slightly so they're not hitting exactly with where the snare and the kick hit. So basically the hi-hats, they're all going to be dancing around the kick and the snare and the 808. So there's two different things I do to achieve this. First is I'll set up my hi-hat like a basic pattern, right? Just like 16th notes, or you can do your hi-hat rolls, right? When you first set them up, just leave them normal, whatever default setting. So here in Machine specifically, down here is the grid. So when you first set them up, they'll be 1/16th, right? So it's just gonna follow the 1/16th grid. But the key or the trick here is to get them to sound bouncy is you want to lay them out, right, like this, and you switch it to 128. So the grid is split into 128 little tiny sections, right? So when you set them up, you highlight the ones you want, basically all of them, set it to 128. You can do that by clicking down here on the bottom left here, Machine, or you can do it with the numpad on your keyboard. 9 gives you the 128. All right, so once you've set it to 128, you've highlighted your drums. On the actual Machine hardware, you hold down shift and you press the number 8 to nudge it. It says 8 with a nudge, and it has a little arrow pointing to the right. So if you look at the screen here, you see it's kind of nudging it. So it's going to look like that at first, but once you nudge it, I like nudging it twice. It's going to make them offbeat, but you can't really tell. But that's what gives it that bouncy feeling. Basically do that with all the hi-hats. So you can see even these, they're kind of a little bit off. See, like this yellow one up top here, you can see it's not hitting exactly on the line, right? So it's nudged over a little bit. Okay, so the next thing you want to do here, I'm going to isolate the open hi-hat because you can hear it more here. So you don't have to do it with all of them. You can pick and choose which ones you want depending on what the beat sounds like, right? So in Machine, when you select that hi-hat in the sampler mode, you go into the LFO right here. So you can see I left the speed as default, sine wave. So basically what it's doing is modulating the pitch and the pan knobs based on the speed of the sine wave. So it's going like this, but it's going at a certain speed, and it's moving these knobs at the speed of that sine wave, right? So I have the pitch at around -15 and the pan at around basically 28. So this is what it sounds like with my settings, right? Just basic, right? But you can also go extreme with it. So here's the pitch, for example, right? That's a little too extreme. I'm sure you can find a way to use it like that, right? But we're going to put it back to the way it was, like that. And then the pan is doing the left and right channels, right? So let's go extreme. So yeah, it's panning left and right, extreme, or the other way. So we're going to put it back the way it was. So those are the two key things. Modulate certain effects such as the pitch, pan. Here you can see there's a cutoff and drive. So this is for Machine specifically. I know you can do it in FL Studio as well. It's not as intuitive though. The knobs don't necessarily say that, and it's kind of hidden. You have to hold down Alt R or something like that to pop that window up. But yeah, same thing with the other hi-hats. I basically did the same thing with the other hi-hats, automated them like this one, some similar settings here. Some of them I didn't even do it, right? So two key things, you nudge the hi-hats over just a little bit, and you automate certain things like the pitch and the pan, or other things if you want. So this is what it sounds like. So the hi-hats, they're kind of dancing around the kick and the snare. That's what it sounds like. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to get that bouncy feel with boom bap style, East Coast 90s style rap beats. This is what we're going to listen to here. This is a beat I was working on recently. Okay, so here I'm using Maschine inside Studio One as a plugin, but I did all the sequencing and all the drum programming inside of Maschine. So we're going to talk about how to get that bounciness inside of Maschine, right? So here, let me isolate the drums here. Okay, it sounds kind of funny, just the drums on their own. Okay, so two key things here. First one is similar as the trap style beats. You want to nudge them just a little bit so they're not hitting on time exactly with the rest of the drums, specifically the kick. So here, let me highlight all of these here. So same thing as the trap. You can see that one is not hitting exactly. Some of them are, but like these are not hitting exactly on time, on beat. You can see they're nudged over just a little bit. So again, this is for boom bap style. I only like doing the snares with boom bap style. I only like nudging them. So again, I would just lay out my snares like on time, right? 16th notes or 8th notes, whatever you want to do. And then highlight them. And in the Maschine hardware, set the grid to 128. That way you're only nudging them just a little bit. So you would hold shift and hit the number 8 pad. I forgot to mention last that the number 7 pad right next to it nudges it back. Right, so right there, they're hitting on time. But if you nudge it like that, they're gonna be off just by a little bit, right? So that's the first thing with boom bap style beats and Maschine. Second, and this is probably more important if you think about it, it's the swing. So in Maschine, if you hit groove here, you'll see the swing, right? Swing amount and the cycle. So you can do this on individual sounds if you want. Right here, you can see that the individual sounds don't have it. But I'm doing it on the group. So it's on the 1/8. You can also choose to do it on the master. If you're working only in Maschine, you can just put swing on everything, right? So here, I'm only doing it on the group. It's 1/8 cycle, about 50%, right? 49% there. I like to mess around with it between like 15 and 50%, depending on what it sounds like. So it's up to you. It's your choice on how much you want to do it. So 1/8 and 3/16 seem to sound really good. On 3/16 though, you gotta be careful because it sounds kind of crazy with it. It sounds kind of weird the higher you go. So 1/8 is for that high, 49%. 1/8 is a little bit better. So this is what it sounds like with all that applied to the drums. So key thing here, two things, is you want to nudge the snare over a little bit to the right so it's not hitting exactly with the kick, and you want to apply swing to all the drums basically. That'll give it that bouncy sound, and basically all the drums are going to be playing or dancing around all the other instruments this way. and it gives it a certain type of groove, old school groove, I guess, if you want to call it. Sometimes, depending on how you want it to sound, you can also apply the swing to the samples, the bass, the piano, the guitar, or whatever. It just totally depends, so it's up to you. You can change the swing however you want, as long as it sounds good, right? So there you go, how to get bouncy drums in Maschine for trap style and boom bap. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Happy New Year. Peace.